Howdy y'all, JR Gamer here with another video just for you. If this is your first time here and you're looking for a relaxing space to evaluate gameplay, inspiration for your own projects, or a dose of daily awful dad jokes, don't forget to subscribe to the channel right now. And while you're at it, click on the bell to get notified when I upload more videos. Howdy y'all, it's JR Gamer once again with a new video for you for Planet Zoo. I've been trying to get this video out since yesterday, but I've been having issues with my editing software and I wasn't able to get it out yesterday. But I'm gonna get it out today and put it up and see what you think about it. I was trying to get into franchise mode the first time, which was 2 days ago, and I wasn't able to. I finally was able to get into franchise mode, and here we are. This video is going to be in the franchise mode for Planet Zoo, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So we're going to start with naming my franchise, and as everything I'm doing in this channel, everything that I do in this channel, it's a tribute to my brother. And so the Planet Zoo franchise will be named after him in some way, or his alias. His alias was Serge Duke. And so I'm going to call it the SD Zoological Foundation. I might change the name later on. But as we all know, Planet Zoo has said that everything that we do in the beta version might not be used or might not be available once the game launches in November. So I might change the name. I might not change the name. For right now, it's going to be SD Zoological Foundation. I'm going to abbreviate Foundation because the whole foundation didn't fit in the title. So I'm just going to abbreviate it, and we're going to move forward that way. So I'm going to try and build this zoo, this first zoo, within the parameters of the franchise. The whole point of the franchise is you've got a certain amount of money, and you've got enough money, and you got to use that money to build. They've given me an additional 100 credits to buy animals with, so that's great. So I'm gonna buy, use that amount of money, and then try and keep within the budget. So here we have the franchise management window. It tells you the number of zoos you have, what animals you have adopted, sold, or released, how much you've earned and spent in the zoos. So it's a good check mark as to where you're at. We only have one biome, which is the Asia grassland, so we're gonna do that. I'm gonna name the first zoo after my brother. I think I picked SD Zoo Gardens. So I wanted something with gardens or park in the end. Again, I might change the name of it, but for right now, it's going to be SD Zoo Gardens, and we'll revisit that at a later date. I just wanted to get into the game because I wasn't able to do it the night before. I mean, I work during the day, so I didn't get to play the franchise mode till late at night because I actually had to get the scenario mode edited and out that evening. I had played the scenario mode the night before and finished it, so the tutorial part of it, and so I needed to get that video out to you guys first before I could start playing Planet Zoo. Just like I tried to do that yesterday, but of course my editing software went berserk and I wasn't able to get it out yesterday. I was up to 1 o'clock in the morning trying to get it out. So here we are. We're going to start off with SD Zoo. I'm going to go through the franchise mode. You've probably seen hundreds of videos already on this, but I just wanted to get it out for you guys. Franchise mode beta. Welcome to Planet Zoo franchise mode, and thank you for taking part in our beta. First steps, go and play the tutorials. Seriously, it's a good idea. That's been done. Franchise mode. In franchise mode, you'll be able to build your dream zoo from scratch, adopt animals from a trade center, and once you've started breeding animals of your own, put them up for adoption by other players. So the whole point of the franchise mode is you're going to create zoos, build zoos, but there is a budget to them. Now you've got currency in Planet Zoo, two currencies: cash, which is brought in by your guest. This is used to purchase entry, buy food, drinks, souvenirs, donations, and conservation credits, which are used based on challenges, daily logins, trading with other players, that kind of stuff. So we've got two currencies: one for trading animals, one is actual cash. So we got to use donation boxes. You got to place placement of staff. Make sure you place donation boxes near habitats, so that you can. That's how you get a lot of the money. Placing staff facilities. Placement of staff facilities is really important. They need to be out of the view of the guests. Staffs must be efficient, so you have to create work zones. So use the work zones system to make sure that your staff stays where they're supposed to. Like Jurassic Park, franchise mode requires power, so you have to put power facilities in the park. Otherwise, things don't work. Guest happiness is based on, you know, what they see, if they can see the animals, what the animals do, and they get unhappy if they see the staff facilities. So you got to make sure that's part of what you're looking at. Animal welfare is very important. This is the part that I want to look at once we get into the game, is how to keep the animals healthy and happy, as happy as possible in the habitats. So I'm really looking forward to that. Trading animals, I'm also looking forward to trading animals in the trade center. You can acquire the animals you want, different genetics, a bunch of wonderful stuff. And then of course the staff management part. I did this in Planet Coaster. Planet Coaster is a little different from Planet Zoo. I think they really thought about Planet Zoo in this franchise mode. I think Planet Coaster, it didn't work the same way, and so I really only played Sandbox and Planet Coaster. But I think I'm gonna be playing a lot of franchise mode here, so I'm really looking forward to it. So we start off with about $40,000 and 300 credits, and so we're gonna start off with that, and we're gonna build from that. Now, $40,000, it's gonna depend on how much everything costs in order for me to be able to do what I want to do. So it looks like on average, depending on the path, we're looking at anywhere between $10 and $30 for each section of a path. So that's not too bad. You know, I increased it a little bit because I took down a whole section of the entrance that I didn't like. So that's the other good thing about this is you get to you know, if you bulldoze something, you get the money back. So that's very efficient. I'm gonna build this zoo. I'm being inspired by the Texas zoos that I've been to. Of course, the San Antonio Zoo where I live, been to it many times. So that's kind of where my inspiration comes from, and it's also coming from the Houston and Dallas zoos and the Waco zoos here in Texas. I'm gonna take that inspiration and I'm gonna turn it into a zoo here in the franchise mode. Basically build my own zoo, but kind of gather ideas from those zoos. One of the things that I really love about the San Antonio Zoo is after you come in, there's a big circle area, or big concrete area with a big old tree in the middle, and then a statue of some lions on it. And I really like that. Now, I didn't see any statutes. I looked statutes, thinking like a lawyer now. Statues. I didn't see any statues or any kind of fountain or anything like that. So, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to put a statue, but I love this tree. I saw this in the scenario mode, and I really love this Balboa tree, so I wanted to use it, and it looks great right there in the entrance as people come in. I think it's going to be a great centerpiece for the entrance of the park. One of the things that I learned about budgeting is minimal budgeting. Now, when I went to these zoos, I see this difference. There's a huge difference between what zoos do and what amusement parks do. The entrance of all the zoos that I've been to are not gigantic. They're not enormous. I mean, the San Antonio Zoo is just a couple of buildings with a roof and the ticket booths. It's not elaborate. It's not humongous. It's not in your face. It's very subtle. And what it is that their focus is the animals. That's their focus. And the entertainment is going to be coming from the animals. And so they don't over-theme things. And so that's one of the things that I've been seeing some of these videos that are coming out, and many of the creators are like, man, I wasted all my money. Well, yeah, because you're building these huge elaborate entrances and you're building these huge elaborate covers for the animals, when if you go to a zoo, they're not like that. The themes are there, but they're subtle. You know that you're walking through the African savannah. You know that you're walking through the Amazonian area, or you're walking through the reptile part of the zoo, or you're walking through the Arctic part of the zoo. Not because they have these huge themed buildings, but because their focus and everything around it is the animals. They've got signs, but the animals are there, and you can see them, and you know that you're walking through that area because of the animals, not because of the theme. And so that's one of the things that I noticed in a lot of these videos is, everybody's building these big thematic buildings, when if you go to these zoos, what you see is very generic buildings, some of them themed, but very subtle buildings. They're not exorbitant. And so that's what I'm going to do here is I'm going to watch my budget. I'm going to make sure that I stay within the budget, that I build the habitats to focus on the animals, and create habitats for the animals, and use that habitat as the theme for the area. Okay? So that's kind of where I'm thinking that I'm going to go with this. This is where I'm going to do. So I've started with that, like I said, that center area, like in the San Antonio Zoo. I love this, the big tree in the middle. We're going to, we surrounded it with rocks. We're going to put some rocks down here on the side to cover up the imperfections of the path system. The path system, is the same one from Planet Coaster. It hasn't changed. It's got the same issues. So I'm gonna cover. I'm gonna use, just like I did in Planet Coaster. I'm gonna use props to cover the imperfections, and that's what I'm doing here. The entrance, of course, has to be a little bit more enriching, just like the San Antonio Zoo entrance. You got that big old statue of the lions, and you've got this huge, beautiful oak. In San Antonio, it's a huge oak, and you've got and it's very beautifully decorated. So I'm gonna do the same thing here. I'm gonna have a very beautifully decorated entrance to the park, to the zoo, and then we'll go. Then it'll branch out from there into the different habitats, and I've got an idea in my head of what I want to do in terms of habitats and how I'm going to showcase all these animals, but I'm going to take it one step at a time. Okay, here we're going to work on the entrance, maybe one of the habitats. I might work on a second one, but I didn't put it into this video just because it would have made the video way too long. So when I drop down the next video, which hopefully will be here either tonight or tomorrow, there'll be an additional habitat. I'll probably already have some animals in there, and I'll be building that a third habitat, and there'll probably be some restaurants and some information booths and you know all the major buildings that need to come with the initial part of having animals come into the zoo. At that point, I'll open up the zoo so I can start generating some cash. What I'm gonna look at is at this beginning stage is be very careful about the budget and keep myself within, I'm gonna say within about $15,000. So at the end of everything, this first part, excuse me, I should have about $20,000 to $25,000 left in the budget, so that I can, if I have to pay for some animals that I want, I can pay for them, and so that I can build the necessary buildings that are going to take care of the initial animals that I want. Now, I'm not going to start off with the $5,000 tiger and the $10,000 lion and the elephant. That would be ridiculous. Okay, we're going to start with some of the smaller animals. That's my thinking. Okay, and so that's where we're going to go. So we're going to start with some of those smaller animals. They're animals that attract. I'm not talking about the exhibits. So here's the entrance. I hope you like it, guys. This is it's simple, but it's impactful, and it tells you what it is. It's themed. I think it's a beautiful entrance. So here we're gonna start off with the brand new habitat. This is new for me. This was not in Planet Coaster, and I think I'm gonna enjoy this because it has, there's certain geometric shapes that you want to build, and this is going to give you that opportunity. Of course, I'm still going to use the terrain tools, which I want to do here. The idea here is I want to raise platform for the guests so that when they're looking into the habitat, they don't have to look over the fence. They can actually see over the fence because they're on a raised platform. And the habitat, what I noticed in, for example, San Antonio, their habitats are a little sunk into the ground. It looks like the habitat was created out of a quarry. So there is a rock face in the back and on the sides. Okay, and then the habitat is kind of sunk. So you are a little bit higher than the habitat itself, and you look into the habitat, and of course it's got all the barriers and the water barrier and all that kind of stuff. But what I really noticed when I went to the zoo on Sunday with my little brother-in-law, and we, part of it was my research, part of it was for us to have fun. But what I noticed is these habitats are sunk compared to where you're standing. The majority of them. Now, there's some habitats that I was questionable with. I thought that they were too small for the animals, or I thought I didn't see the reason for them. But I have to do a disclaimer. The San Antonio Zoo is expanding, and they are revamping their habitats, and so I think they've noticed that, and they're thinking outside the box. They redid their entire section for the giraffe or the savanna, the African herbivores. Not the lions, but the herbivores, the zebras and gazelles and giraffes and rhinos. They've redone that area, and it's a more open area. And once again, it's the same concept. The people are on a higher plane, looking down into the habitat, with a lot of areas for the animals to hide if they need to. But that's one of the things that I really noticed. So this is what I'm trying here. Is I've created this raised platform out of earth. I didn't want to do it out of the path itself, simply because the path has its issues, and one of those issues is creating raised paths. So I did the terraforming, and created a raised platform for people to see into the habitat. And now I'm going to create the habitat, and I like that concept of the rock face because this is a very flat area. It doesn't really fit in with this particular zoo, but I'm gonna imagine. So let's imagine that there are areas in this flat surface where there used to be rolling hills and they were eroded by the weather, and it left these rock faces, these boulders that were underneath, that were shaped, millions and millions of years ago. And so the millions of years of erosion have created these boulder hills, and this is where the animals are roaming. So that's my thoughts. That's where the inspiration comes from. But I am going to create a somewhat rock face, and I wanted to use the invisible barrier just because I wanted to try it out, see what happens once the animals are in there, see if it works, what are the limitations of that barrier, etc., etc., etc. So I had a little trouble trying to connect the habitat barrier all together, so I moved things around so I could do that. Ultimately, and you'll see as we go along on this habitat, things kind of change because of how the habitat came along. That's why things changed. The terraforming, the kind of animal that I'm thinking is going to go in there, all of those things kind of made the changes that created the changes that I needed to create. So here, I was able to connect the barrier. I've got the two sides of on each side of the wall. And so now it's, we move forward with creating, we've kind of created the habitat, and so now we move forward with the rest of it. I'm trying to get the height of the barrier to a level where the animal is going to go, that it won't. Again, I don't know how the barrier works, so my thinking is the higher it is, then the animal's not going to jump over. Why? Because I was going to raise the, as you can see, terraform it and raise the inside of the habitat, so that we can create that feeling of sinking in, and kind of create levels in the habitat. That was kind of the idea, is create several levels in the habitat so that the animals have levels of view, and the customers have the same thing. The people that are going into the zoo. Like every habitat that I've ever seen, there's always not a water feature, but a water trench between, unless there is a huge wall, right? And I was going to start speaking in Spanish. I said verdad. There's always some kind of water barrier that creates that separation between the human and the animal. The animal that I'm going to place in this habitat, the barrier needed to be a certain length. I think it's I think it was like 10 feet. So I created a 12-foot barrier, water barrier. It also serves as water for drinking, that kind of stuff. So that's also a good thing. But that's again, taking my inspiration from the zoos that I've been to. That's one of the things that I've seen in those zoos, is that there's always a water feature in these open air habitats. Okay, so that's what I'm doing now. Here I'm creating the back part of the habitat, and I cut right into the next part. You guys don't want to see how that back part is created. I basically created a cave and a rock formation in the back. I'm tweaking the habitat here for height. Again, I don't know how it works, So that was kind of the idea, is tweak it for height. But then ultimately I'm going to change my mind, and I'm going to actually, the back of the habitat is going to be a corrugated fence. The front of the habitat is all going to be rock. And it's just an aesthetic thing. It didn't look, to me at least, it didn't look right for it to be just a blank barrier. If I would have put rocks all the way in the back and basically made it a whole rock face, maybe I would have kept the barrier as a null or an invisible barrier. But because I didn't do that, I really believe that there should be a barrier back there. So ultimately, I'm going to put a corrugated fence in the back of the habitat. The other thing is, the only shelter that I gave them was the cave inside that rock. So I'm thinking that at some point the animals are going to probably go to the back to get away from the people. That's just my thinking. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but that was kind of my thinking, is if I'm going to leave the back the way it is and I'm not going to create a straight down barrier in the back, then, you know, put the fence up and give them an opportunity to hide in the back of the habitat if they need to. I had to terraform a little bit because the door ended up in the ground, so I changed that as well. So this is, I gotta start creating the employee path, because that's one of the things that happens there. Is that the difference here from Planet Coaster is now we have employee paths. These are paths that only employees can go to, and so it gives you that opportunity to separate the customers from the employees and give the employees a straight shot to the animals here. And that's exactly what I'm doing here, is I'm giving them a straight shot to the animals. And as you can see, I decided that I'm going to put a corrugated fence there and use it in order to put the door in where the employees are going to go. And at that point I realized, you know what, if I'm going to be open in the back, I might as well just put a corrugated fence all the way in the back, so that the animals either, there's a barrier for them there, because I'm not going to hide the barrier in the wall, which would have been another thing, but I didn't think it worked that way. I wanted to give the zookeepers also some room for them to walk around as well. So that's the whole thinking there. We'll see how it works. There's no animals in there yet. This next video coming out, hopefully there'll be some animals. So that's kind of the idea. So another thing, kind of thinking aside, another thing I want to talk to you guys about is launch date. Right now we're all focused on the beta, and that's wonderful and that's great, but I've been thinking about, okay, so once the actual game launches, we've got Planet Coaster was 5 years, okay, and we'll still be doing Planet Coaster stuff. But I was thinking about things we can do together in this channel. And so one of the things that I came up with is the first 100 subscribers will have a habitat named after you in the zoos that we create. One of the things that I noticed in all the zoos that I've been to is this habitat is sponsored by blah blah blah. The Zoological Foundation of San Antonio, the Rutherford Foundation, etc., etc., etc. And so I'm going to create that in my habitats. They're going to be sponsored by X, Y, Z. In this case, it's going to be my subscribers. The subscribers to the channel. I think it's a great reward for you guys, rewarding me with your subscriptions. So the first 100 subscribers to the channel are going to get their name as in their habitat. Once I get those subscribers, I'm gonna send you either a tweet or a DM, and I'm gonna ask you what habitat you would like to be named after you, and we'll do it. We'll start that way. Okay. So that's one of the ideas that I have for launch date. Now, if you don't want your name on the habitat, since I'm still doing Planet Coaster, we're going to continue with Planet Coaster, and we're building the Texas Adventure, then we'll do the same thing in Planet Coaster, but what I'll do is I'm going to build in Planet Coaster the Great Hall of Subscribers, and we'll put your name in that Great Hall. Kind of like the Great Hall of Presidents or the Hall of Presidents. I saw that in another video, and I think it's a good, so I want to call it a Great Hall rather than, the Hall of. But that's, that's kind of my ideas. I'm thinking about a couple of other things when it comes to the zoo, kind of educational things. Dealing with, for example, maybe an animal a week or an animal, every 2 weeks, and kind of elaborating on their habitat and their habits and why we want to put them in the zoo, and kind of do a short video, educational video, while either we're building their habitat. That would be a good idea. So in conjunction with the habitat, we'll do an educational video on the animal that's going to go in that habitat. So I think that's kind of things that are coming to mind to get into the channel. Why? Because I'm not, I want to make this channel about you, and I only have a certain amount of time. As you can see, I had to put out this video real quick, and I wasn't able to after work. So these are things that I'm thinking about, guys. I just finished this habitat. I think it looks great. So I'm going to try and do these things. I want to hear from you. Let me know in the comments below if those are good ideas, if you like them. If you have ideas that we can do for videos using Planet Zoo. And hopefully we can do this together. I really think this is a learning experience for all of us. So I'm going to treat it like that. I'm going to treat it as a learning experience for myself. And hopefully you guys enjoy it with me. So I'm hoping that next time I'll get this video out either tonight or tomorrow. So there's the new habitat. Thanks a lot, guys, for being with me. And until the next time, adios. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. If you like the content, click the like button below. Remember, if you're looking for a relaxing space to evaluate gameplay, inspiration for your own projects, or a dose of daily awful dad jokes, subscribe to the channel right now and click on the bell to get notified when I upload more videos. Until next time, adios.